Okay, now we're live. And we're talking about the goals of the Passion module in preparation for voting on some of those stories involved in getting the workshop editor functioning the way we want it to with the content. The goals of the Passion module are pretty loose because the idea is not to teach them any defined skills. It's just to spark an interest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you do have some pretty concrete things there. Image editing, experiment in HTML and CSS.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
using content from public APIs. So that's 3 things, and you have 3 meetups.
Yeah, perhaps you won't say that they will have achieved a certain skill level, but they'll have a certain level of comprehension about certain topics.
Yeah, they should be able to have a basic understanding of how the HTML tags work.
And they're going to be able to pull in pictures using the Instagram API. That's like a huge thing. That'll get a lot of, spark a lot of interest.
Yeah, I mean the code for that is written for them. They're just copying and pasting a couple of variables.
But
Yeah.
either way, they're understanding.
But they'll be able to, I think they'll understand a little bit anyway.
Right, that there's a service that offers itself in various components, and if you know the right magic, you can get component by component somewhere else.
Would they be able to then pull in their own Instagram feed? If you showed them, I didn't look at the stuff yet. Sorry. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Yeah, at this age group, they shouldn't actually have an Instagram account.
Oh really? What age are you allowed to be on Instagram?
13.
Are you kidding me?
It's like 13 for everything in the social media world, I think.
I know, but if they do, then they're quite welcome to use it.
Uh-huh. Wow. The entire 6th grade across the street is out of compliance on that.
Well, they should also. I think they should also be able to recognize what the role of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are on web applications.
Are you doing anything specific with the JavaScript? I would think that the JavaScript would be something they hadn't been exposed to yet.
I think they'll be exposed to a little bit of each one, but not in depth. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we have that like editable regions thing for HTML. We could have an editable CSS file, and maybe expose a little script tag as well for a bit of interactivity, something like that. Just bits of everything in the first one.
The way that Armando demoed jQuery in the MOOC, I think, was very good. I actually think it would be a good idea for maybe like the last bit of, maybe not the Passions, but maybe in the next level, or maybe just right at the end of the Passions, to show them you've got a dev tool, pop it open, and on a page with, we maybe won't go into, oh, this page has jQuery, so you can use jQuery, but we'll just give them a page with jQuery and say on this page you can open it up and you can actually start typing JavaScript, and you can, this element, you can make it disappear, or something like that. Because that's like, I feel like that's pretty gripping, that you can like, you feel like you just like hack the matrix there when you learn you can do that.
And Mohammed did mention, I think, that some of his students are tackling JavaScript by the third 90-minute session.
Nice. All right, and obviously the last point on here is collaboration pair programming. I don't know if we need the students who will be able to point for that, but
In the passions, I'm not sure how much we can get them to work together in the way that pair programming should be done.
Yeah.
No, but they will be pairing on the activities, so they'll have some experience in discussing changes to be made. There's there should be some scope for creativity in all three of the Passions meetups, so that will be a talking point. What color should we make this?
You could use collaboration if you want.
Yeah. So I think we're going a bit out of scope. We're supposed to be voting for stories, and the first story we want to vote for is to do all the work that we're trying to do now. Figuring out the passions module goal. It's okay. Yeah, maybe we can just quickly vote on these stories, and then we can work on that after the meeting. Because I think this story, we need to do it, in a group, not preferably pairing over or having a little meeting over how we're going to decide the passion module goals. Yeah. So is everyone clear about what the goal of this story is?
Yeah, just to define those goals and discuss what's important to put into passion and what's important to leave out as being too complex to introduce at such an early stage.
John, Marion, any questions about this before we start voting?
Nope.
Is it 1, 2, 3?
Yep. I think we're using the 1, 2, 3 point system here. Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Do you want to do the countdown, Ryan?
Yep. So is everyone ready? Type in your favorite number and hold down pressing enter until I count down to 3. So 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, Marion, you're the odd one out. You care to explain yourself?
I guess I was just thinking that there's no actual coding involved, and it sort of seems like some of this is already done. And we came up with a lot pretty quickly.
Yeah, we did, but I think there's a lot of thought that's got to go into this to make sure that it's the right goals, and that can be time consuming, and it needs a lot of people, so a lot of developer hours. Even though no development is actually going on.
Okay. All right, I will concede to a 2.
Cool. So that's a 2.
Okay, I'll set that as a 2.
Yeah.
Next on the prioritized list is integrate lesson plan document into the static site contents.
Okay, so let me explain this one. Right now, if you look at the site, we have that workshop 1, workshop 2 in a navbar, right? So what Thomas was thinking when he suggested this story was to have something like, you know, what Hatch Academy has in their front page. They have, you know, they have the whole curriculum, you know, flowing in the page. And then you can click through to and maybe for us, we can click through to workshop 1 contents and workshop 2 all under the passion and things like that. So I think he wanted us to have, since we already have that, you know, Google document, we can somehow put that into a special curriculum page, maybe, so that and have that as like the workshop index page.
Now, is this going to be the summarized version as well as the complete version? Because here is clearly just the summary.
Yeah, I think we'll have it as a summary, and then also have the links to each individual workshop, and that can have more detail, like
Okay.
each link. Yeah.
So you'll have an index page of the entire curriculum. Then you
Yeah.
click through to a description of a specific workshop, and then you
Yeah.
click through to the workshop itself and the activities.
Yep.
What's the web page you were just showing us?
This is Hatch After School, which is a spin-off from Maker Square. Now, Maker Square are one of these development teaching developers, and Hatch is their Kids After School program.
The link's in the chat, by the way.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So they're one of our clients, you could say. They're willing to test drive the programs that we create, pretty much our curriculum. So yeah, we're drawing a lot of inspiration from what they're doing as well.
Basically, Makers Academy in Texas.
So
Yeah.
this is so we want to do like what they're doing on their homepage with the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, or you
Yeah,
want something else, something more, right?
Yeah, but well, something like that, because right now we don't have any kind of structure at all about showing, I mean, our curriculum. Since we have that Google Doc that's at least has some summary of what we want to do, we'd like to have that integrated into the site somehow. If you know what I'm saying.
It seems to me that you're going to have to decide about shuffling the static content that you already have, because I assume you don't want your homepage to be just walls and walls of text, right? You already sort of have this
I know.
right here.
Yeah. There's like a lot of text right now. We could have that as a...
I mean, maybe it wouldn't be too much.
Yeah. We could
And we
have
do
that
have a
as
link here,
separate
courses.
page. Oh, do we?
Yeah. Well, okay, I don't know what that link is for, but in the lower right, the courses button would be a good place to...
Yeah. Well, what happens when you click into that, Pete?
That's not a button. The courses graphic is for the developers who are creating the courses and the software for them, and how they should get involved.
Oh, okay. Right. So I think we could use, you know, a curriculum link or something.
Yeah, or like you say, put it on the homepage. And I think it would be clearer what we are trying to achieve with Codealia by having links to lots of workshops than having to wade through a lot of high-level text about the problem in society.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a manifesto, and I feel like it's appropriate for your about page, perhaps.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Cool. Is everyone clear what is going into that story?
Um, should the workshop pages be static content?
Yes, I think at the moment there'll be static content.
That's a whole other story for managing workshops.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Pretty much. Cool. So, are you guys ready to vote?
Yeah, I mean, it's still pretty unclear how we're going to do this in an attractive way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just talked generally, let's move a bunch of stuff somewhere else and let's move a whole bunch of stuff onto this page. I mean, how is that going to look nice? Like, it looks really nice on Hatch, but are we going to rip them off exactly, or are we going to come up with our own, like, attractive top-to-bottom design that guides the eye through it, you know?
Our own attractive top to bottom design that guides the eye through it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that should be reflected in the number of points.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully, okay, cool. So if everyone's ready to vote, so on my mark, I'll count up to 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Right, Pete. So this time you're the odd one out. Do you mind telling us why you think this is a 2?
I don't think this is a 3 because it's not going to touch the database. It's static content. It's just a case of copying some content into the homepage.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's more than that. I mean, because what John said about deciding how it's going to look, we might want to make decisions to have a consistent look, and it's across the whole site, so it might
mm-hmm.
end up involving more than just these static pages.
Yeah. I think there's also more than just copying text. We want to make it look attractive as well, so there'll be a lot of styling and designing the page.
Yeah, well, okay.
Pretty much. Yeah.
We're definitely going to need some lo-fis for this, and probably
Yeah.
more than one lo-fi to choose from.
Exactly. So yeah. So taking all this into consideration, I think this is a 3. Just
Okay.
for all that planning and things.
I'll make it a 3.
Okay. Cool. So we're decided then. That story is a 3. Pete, are you gonna change that or? Oh, okay. Cool.
Done.
Awesome. Right, so the next story is links to Indiegogo. Well, keep in mind that this has already been done, but we haven't voted on it. So I think we'll just make a quick vote, right?
Yeah, Viv and I set up social media accounts with the purpose of publicizing the Codealia and specifically the Indiegogo campaign to try and send traffic here and raise funds. And it feels like it's a bit hit and miss at the moment because there's no centralized place where we can curate content for this social media campaign. So I wanted to make a start on that by just having a link to the Indiegogo on the site and embed this Indiegogo totalizer into the site so that we can, show off what we're doing and that we're trying to raise money and send people there.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a much needed feature and right. So there's not a lot of work. I think it's just copying and pasting the code, just figuring out where that should go. That's pretty much it. There's no test involved because Well, Pete, did you write tests?
No, I didn't know.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't think there should be tests involved because this is hard-coded stuff. Okay, so is everyone clear on that?
Do you want to put forward an idea of where this would probably go on the website? Would you have it on every page? Would you only have it on an about kind of
I
page?
think
Or
what would be good is to have it on the landing page somewhere.
The link on the landing page or the entire widget?
The widget on the landing
The
page.
widget on the landing page.
Yeah.
And a link on the fundraising page.
Yes.
Which is how I've done it.
Okay. Well, let's ignore the fact that Pete already did it. And let's just do a quick vote on this feature. So, right. If everyone would just type their favorite number and get ready, so I'll count up again, or I'll count down this time. So I'll start from 3. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right, that's unanimous. It's a 1 point. Ooh,
Easy point.
yeah. So now that that's voted on, I can merge that in.
Yeah, I'll
Trying to
fix
keep
it up.
things. Okay. Yep. Awesome. So what's the next story on the list?
Include Hatch After School badge.
Right, that's a good question. I think Thomas said he got the a couple of graphic from Hatch After School. I'm not sure if anybody got that from him.
Not aware of having received that, no.
Right. Okay. Well, we know that that graphic should be available to us somehow.
Is it in the Google Drive?
I'm not sure.
Codealia Media, maybe?
Hopefully.
I don't see it
Girls
here.
pairing. No, I think not. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay.
Well, we'll either have to look for that or ask Mohammed to send it again.
Yeah. Okay. So, right. So this story involve, well, what we want to do is, I think, include the graphic for Hatch After School somewhere in our site. Perhaps as part of this, as you know, a sponsors list or something, or just partner, or yeah. So we'll figure out the right language for this, but so somehow we want to have make it known that Hatch is affiliated with Codealia, and that involves getting the graphic from Mohammed or Drew, and also adding that to our site somehow. So there's not that much coding, it's just a bit of static content, but then we need to grab that static content somehow.
Yeah. And it needs
Yeah.
a little bit of planning because there potentially could be more partners that we want to add to the site. So I think the way you did it on website 1 by introducing a sidebar onto many content pages,
Right.
where these banners could be shown, was a good way to go. I can't remember who worked on that story.
I think it was David Mortensen, not Daniel Mortensen.
Daniel, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so if everyone has a good number in their head, put it down in the chat, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, Go. Pete?
Sorry, I thought I pressed it.
Okay, Marion, again, the odd one out. Could you please explain the one?
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought it was just putting a link on a page somewhere.
Well, not a link, it's a graphic, and I think at the moment we don't have the graphic, but I know that Mohammed got in contact with Thomas saying that it's ready. So since Thomas is no longer with us, we can't really get it off him, so we have to get it from Mohammed again. So the story involves a bit of that as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. So far, not many coding stories. So are you happy to see to it too?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, let me make that a 2.
Awesome. Right. Okay, next is...
Basic learning management system for instructors.
Yeah, I think this would involve having some kind of... so this will be more coding. This will be adding like admin models or user models, instructor models. Let me think. Should we have... well, should we have instructors and admins as a separate model, you think, Pete? Or we'll integrate everyone as users and have some kind of other system to determine their privileges?
I think the simplest way to do it is to have an instructor login, which has access to everything that can be modified.
Right.
So there's 2 classes of user: the instructor and the student.
Okay. Cool. Right. Do you think we should also have admin mod? I think we should also have admin models.
Yeah.
Maybe as a separate. That's for posting. I mean, making blog posts and everything on the site, Pete.
I wouldn't have anything against instructors making blog posts as such. But yeah, if there were a lot of instructors joining and Codealia grew very rapidly, which would be awesome, then we would want to, have some separate privileges to edit, forward-facing content on the site.
Okay. Right. Right. Let's just stick with instructors for the moment, and if we need it, we'll create separate models for the admins. But at the moment, we'll just assume that all instructors have access to creating blog posts and things like that. Okay.
Now, what's the
Everyone.
advantage of having separate models for your users?
No real advantage except for avoiding the complexity of dealing with privileges. Unless you're happy to deal with having just a user model. Well, I think one advantage of having separate models is for instructors, you might want to get more information out of them. For students, maybe because of legal issues, we cannot keep that much information, so they'll in the back end there'll be much less details that we need from them.
Yeah,
Okay.
the way we would discuss this before is that the students would have their parents would sign them up to Codealia, and we'd have a parent email address on file for each student, and the students' names in the system would just be pseudonyms that are automatically generated that they can change if they want to. And then any code that they create during the course of the program will be stored linked to their user account. And we also have groups of students who work together on larger projects who have a shared space to showcase their work.
Okay. So in the actual, controller, say, And I'm only experienced with devise, and we have current user. How do we handle current user aliasing to two different models?
Well, I think with device you can have something like current admin or current instructor. That depends on the name of the model. So as long as they have separate backend models, we don't need to worry about what the current use. I mean, no, there will be more than one like current something in device.
Okay, is that good though? I mean, don't you want current user to be polymorphic instead, where you can say current user admin question mark versus current user student versus current user instructor, sort of, rather than having separate conditionals?
Well, I guess you could say that, yeah. Well, whoever takes up the story is free to tackle it any way they want. Yeah, but if you can have it that way, although it'll still be a bit more complicated because we will still be keeping different, um, like we'll have different columns for instructors and students. Obviously, instructors will have a couple more things, and then we might end up having a has a polymorphic relationship in the model anyway that points to the remaining attributes that we need for instructors and for as opposed to students, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could this story basic LMS for instructors be broken up into user privileges and student kind of workspace?
Student workspace? What do you mean by that?
If we're persisting the student code that they create during the sessions, and the LMS will manage that code.
Oh, right. Yes, there is a separate story already for the class sessions.
Okay.
So that will involve management. So I think that's like the next one down. Yes, in fact, that is the next story down.
Okay.
So we'll keep that like class sessions handling separate from that. But we just want, I guess for this story, we just want logins for instructors. Shall we modify the? Yeah, because the description is pretty much login as instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's modify the name of the story to match that. So basic login for instructors, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm ready to vote then.
Okay. Is everyone ready to vote then?
Yep.
Okay, let me put a separator. So on a count of 3, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. This time, John, you're the odd one out. Do you mind explaining the tree?
Well, we're generating at least two models.
Well, this is just for instructors here.
Okay, one model.
Yep, just one model.
But you gotta thread that through the entire app now, where you got to apply the privileges in the controller level. I assume that's where you'll be doing the privileges, and even into the views. And obviously, I'm not necessarily saying just because there's a database transaction it must be a 3, but I mean this is a whole separate pillar of your app. In fact, if there's ever going to be God objects in this app, one of them is most likely going to be this class. This is going to grow into a lot of code. And getting it, even if we don't do a lot of code in the first iteration, we really have to get it right, because I think this is a key component of the site.
Yeah. I think we Well, at the moment we just want a simple model of instructors, maybe a basic login, and right now the only thing that instructor privileges will give you is creating a new blog post, pretty much.
And editing existing blog posts.
Oh yeah, and that too. So the only place we're going to be authenticating that model will be in the blog post controller, maybe the comments as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's not a lot to patch into the site right now. Everything else is free, open to the public.
Okay. I mean, we can go with it too if you want, but still, that's going to be one model, and then you have to integrate it into two controllers because you have a comments controller and a post controller.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
I feel like that's a week's worth of air programming.
That could be true. I mean, will anybody else change their mind after what John said?
Yeah,
Okay, Pete's leaning towards the tree now. Marion, what do you think?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm leaning towards 2.5-ish, but since everyone's going for a tree, okay, we'll all concede to a tree.
It doesn't have 2.5 on here.
I'm gonna just add some details in the story, just what we talked about,
Yeah,
posts
sure.
and comments.
Shall I remove management of student code snippet persistence from this?
Yes, because code snippet persistence is actually another story already. So could you remove the class sessions as well? Yes.
And John, go ahead and edit that as you see fit.
Okay.
Cool.
So inside class sessions, we'll add that task.
Right, stuff that's been voted for. Yeah, let's move. I'm gonna move a couple of things into the backlog.
Are we just deciding we're doing devise, or is there any reason to look at other alternatives?
Well, it's up to you. I don't see any reason to, break away from device.
Sure.
Yeah. Since we're having models and everything.
I was just about to say I was interested in having a lighter weight alternative to device.
Okay.
But then I don't know where we're going if we're going to have an admin type super user as well. Is that an argument for including device?
Authorization technically is a separate issue than authentication. Not that I have a lot of experience with separating the two, but there is, of course, Ryan Bates' famous gem, now open sourced, can. I would need to do some reading on that, but we might want to separate those in our mind.
Okay.
So authentication is establishing who you are, and authorization is establishing are you allowed here.
Right.
And device does both.
Not really. We hand roll our own authorization in local support. I don't know about the other projects. It's not hard, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just a couple private methods. And then I think.
But it's difficult to test for. I found that challenging. User is able to update and has privilege to update, or user is unable to update this because of some other condition.
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check out the can codes. Yes. Oh, can community. Yeah. It's popular for a reason. I want to find out why. And yeah,
Cool.
I say let's just stick with devise to keep it simple for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Right. So class sessions.
Class sessions as instructor, so that I may view the current students' finished work. I would like a system to manage code snippets for my students such that it is easily accessible from an administrative view.
So, are we going to do JS bin, or how are we persisting the code that the students are creating?
That's a good question. I think for this we do need user logins first, do we, Pete? How are you thinking? Like, do we only want authenticated users to persist their code, or we'll open this to the public and have anyone persist their code?
Well, the problem is there would be a vulnerability if you can paste in arbitrary JavaScript and then have it hosted on our system.
Yeah, that's true.
So we should restrict it to, students that are enrolled in the program. Just as a first level of security.
Right.
And then we should be filtering any JavaScript that they post.
Now, how does the famous JS bins and all those people, Plunker, handle the fact that, it might be a security issue if you put certain bits of code here? Like, that must be something that they all handle in some way, right?
Well, for one thing, they might be, not running any JavaScript until you press a button, so the person can review the JS fiddle thing before they let it go. 2, they could be doing some kind of smart filter to pull out dangerous functions. Functions that are...
JS fiddle, you can't include JavaScript from an arbitrary link. You have to go through their API for adding offsite JavaScript.
Right.
And I've never got that to work. So that's just me.
Yeah, so they have safety measures in place. Maybe for a first iteration, we since we don't have any experience in cleaning things up, we might want to just keep it to registered users for now, and then expose it to the public later on once we've gotten better at cleaning things up. So, well, this is class sessions, not code persistence. That's another story. In fact, we
code snippet persistence. Yeah, there's all these stories are interdependent, so it's difficult to decide which we're going to need first.
Right. So for class sessions, let's assume that we have code snippet persistence and we have instructor login. So all this pretty much involves is getting being able to view all the students' work, like students associated with, creating maybe a session model, and assuming we have a users model in place, we want to have them able to register for sessions, and when sessions start, we have those code snippets associated with class sessions. And and then an instructor can have a way to manage all these code snippets.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple of dependencies, but when we're voting on a story, let's assume they're all already in place.
Where are the code snippets going to be?
It's a separate story as to how we
Yes.
store those.
Yeah. So I think we'll try and store them in a database somehow. Right. Student login. Okay. I think. Well, is everyone clear on that?
So this is just
Well,
for, sorry.
Go ahead,
Just,
Marion.
okay, just for the student login?
Oh no, this is not for the student login. This is for associating students with instructors, and I mean, when we have workshops, we want to let them, log into our system and do their work. So this is for managing that session. So any student who logs in or registers to this session has their code associated with this particular session, and the instructor should be able to access that.
Should we call it like a session is such a vague word in this context, like a class?
Okay. Yeah, we could, reword this thing.
Okay, we're assuming that the same group of students would come to the weekly classes.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a group that go from lesson 1 to lesson 29.
Would the appropriate thing to be to have a database model called like class that would?
Yeah, so that's what we're thinking of. So there'll be that persistent object involved, the record, database object that's associated with code snippets with an instructor and with a bunch of students. So a class session has many students, has many code snippets, and maybe has many instructors as well.
Right.
And it occurs, on this date, this specific time. Maybe it has some attribute also pointing to what workshop it was involved with. Was it a passions module or something? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we're trying to set up a view for all this information.
Yeah, like an index page.
Okay.
So an index page of students that are associated with your current class.
Yep. I think there'll be more students and code snippets as well.
This is like the main page for the instructors when they're like thinking about their class. They see okay.
Yeah. So there are a couple of dependencies, but let's assume they're all done.
Mm-hmm.
We have a student model, we have an instructor model, and we have code persistence. All we need to do is tie them together into this class object.
Class.
Yeah, class.
Maybe we'll call it classroom.
Yeah, classroom. That'll be good. All right, so is everyone ready to vote on this?
Yep.
Cool. So on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, go. Unanimous. It's a tree. Yeah, there's a lot of coding involved here. Just because you're stringing tree models together.
It's difficult to separate it out from stuff that's been done in other stories as well, but I think there is a lot of logic.
Yeah, this could be our most complex UI.
Yep, absolutely. So it's like a dashboard or something.
Yeah.
For instructors. Cool. Alright, so that's a tree.
3 points.
That has... Okay, let me move that into the backlog. That It has a bunch of dependencies. Cool. Alright. Right. I think there are 2 more stories I really want to vote on. Or maybe a couple more. Don't know if you guys can hang around a bit longer for that.
Yeah, go.
I'm happy.
Okay. Cool. So the next one is make IDE collapsible. So once that IDE is complete, I want to make it collapsible somehow. So that's, you know, JavaScript, CSS, or whatever magic you want to use.
Has everybody
that-
seen how Sam demoed the calculator on edX?
Yeah,
No.
I've seen that one.
No.
I don't know how to pull it up on my own, but there's basically a toolbar that runs across the bottom of the page that is has a button or 2 that says what it's about, and then you click it and it expands upwards, it like unrolls upwards into a
Yeah.
calculator. I imagine we could have our IDE be exactly like that.
Exactly. That's one of what I envision the system doing. So we want to have maybe a small button in the bottom of the page on a toolbar or something. We click that and then the IDE expands out. And you can collapse it as well. Kind of like what I did for the chat system on EDX, which is now not working. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Poor long-suffering EduChat.
Yeah, EDX just keeps pushing out updates that break things. For us, not for them. They're happy. We're not. Well, anyway, so yeah, so the task will involve maybe a bit of JavaScript, maybe CSS. Preferably this is done in a nice Angular-ish fashion, not too hacky. Well integrated with Angular, doing some data binding and callbacks, Angular stuff. So yeah, it's an unfamiliar framework for many of our developers, so keep that in mind when we're voting for the story. So, well, is everyone clear on what's involved in this?
Yeah, I think, well, as clear as I can be.
Cool. John, Marion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with Pete.
All right. If everyone's happy with that, on the count of 3, we'll enter in our numbers. So 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we're split evenly here. So well, let me try and defend my 2. Well, since I've done the edit chat thing, it's not that hard. There's just a bit of CSS, and the only thing we need to toggle is a CSS class. If I'm going to implement it the way that I've done it before. Toggling it like that can be easily done with Angular, because there are it's built into the framework, the ability to toggle CSS classes with on button clicks and things like that. Yeah, I guess there might be a bit more work for those who are not familiar with the framework to get used to this idea. Alright, so what do you think, John and Marion? Because you're the ones who set a tray.
One thing I'm wondering is, okay, so you pop open this IDE, but how do you relate it to what's on the page? Are we going to do something where the IDE has like a line across the top where you click and it jumps the page to this section that this particular bit of code in the IDE pertains to? Or
Well, that's a good question. I think for now, it's just about making the IDE collapsible, coming up and down.
Okay.
Yeah, good point, John. That reminds me of a story that I forgot to write down. Okay, well, but how about Marion? What is your thoughts on this?
I just don't I'm not familiar with this, so I will go with the majority.
Okay. So it's up to you, John.
Yeah, let's put it at 2.
Cool.
Okay, make ID collapsible 2 points.
Yeah. So my idea is to be able to have the ID somehow highlight that editable region that the ID is currently focused on when you bring it up. So maybe a small background change or something.
Like a temporary highlight, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So that's
a
Go on.
UI that's very familiar, that you highlight something with the mouse, the background changes, and that's what you're editing. So this will be another sub-level of that what you're seeing here would highlight in a similar way an area of the page.
yeah.
You know, the often DevTools, when you're inspecting elements in the DevTool window, it sort of highlights certain pieces of the page. Or not highlights them, but like outlines them.
Yep.
I don't know how easy it would be to steal that functionality and implement it
CSS,
ourselves.
I think. Bind something, do a two-way binding in Angular, and then attach CSS that toggles on and off, and have a background color. Important.
Sure. But I was thinking more like a light dotted border outline. Okay, well, this is actually good too.
It's
Yeah,
all
I was thinking
CSS.
so. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. CSS for the outline, yeah, of course.
All right. Well, yes, that's another story. So, okay, another
Well,
one
let's vote
that's
on that now that we've just discussed it. Unless
yeah. Okay, I'll just move that up. So is everyone clear on what this story is about? Highlight editable region that the IDE is focused on. So once you bring, that's actually dependent on making the IDE collapsible. So once the IDE is, brought up, it should highlight the region that it's editing right now.
Are you
Cool.
typing in a description, Brian?
Okay, yeah, let me do that. I forgot to do that.
I'm wondering if you're in a JavaScript editor, whether hovering over different lines of code would be associated as cleanly.
Wow, that is another level of difficulty, but yeah, that will maybe come after this one.
Yeah.
That requires a lot of knowledge with the ACE editor.
So this is just for the HTML editor,
Yeah.
perhaps the CSS. If you're inside a CSS class, it will highlight all the areas of the page that are affected by that class.
Yes. Cool. Okay, I've added a description.
I mean, the naive implementation of this would just be how we already have certain regions tagged as the editable region, that we just highlight the whole region. You know, it's not specific to what line your cursor is currently in or anything like that. It's just sort of hard-coded. This
Yeah.
block goes with this editable region, and
Yep,
keep it
exactly.
general.
That's what I was thinking too. Cool. So are we happy with that?
Yep.
Marion?
Yes.
Cool. So let me. Right. So if everyone would type their the number of their choosing, and on the count of 3, we'll Hit enter. 3, 2, 1, go. Yay, unanimous. 2. So it's a 2 for this one. Right. So what do we have next? I think we could go for 2 more stories after this, if that's okay with everyone. Then we'll have plenty of work to do.
Okay.
Yeah, the next one is quite important that I want to get done. Code snippet persistence. Yeah, so we're assuming that there is already a student model, and that person just, when they're editing a page, they should have an option of saving it. Right.
Okay, so saving the work that they've done in that pop-up IDE at the bottom?
Yes, pretty much. So they want to save all the code changes within one page somewhere in the model. That should be accessible later through a link or something.
Okay, and so we're going to have it save the entire page at once, not particular editable sections, right?
Yes. I mean, because the only part they can edit is those editable sections, so we could just save those few snippets, as one model.
Okay. And we can just save that however in the database, but how will it be represented to the user? Will they only be able to ever view their saves while they're on the page with the editor open, and they could just have a button that look at my saves, and they have little names for them or whatever? Or is this going to be something where it's transferred to some other page on an indexed view of my code snippets?
Yeah, I think we'll, as a first iteration, we'll go with that. We'll have an index page with all of my code snippets.
Oh, okay.
And that's associated with each lesson or workshop, whatever. Cool.
And when they go back to their lesson history and open a page that they've edited previously, their changes will persist as long as they're logged in.
Okay, but as a user, I mean, they get to this page by going to a certain URL, and then they've saved a copy once. They go to the URL again. Just the base URL will give them a fresh copy. So is the plan? Okay,
So,
that index view aside. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so keep in mind this will involve building up a JSON API to hook up with Angular. So we're gonna be building up an Angular route, Angular routing that you can pass in maybe a unique ID of whatever ID or code snippet has, and Angular will fetch all those changes in the backend from the backend. So that's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will involve building up a JSON API as well to work with Angular.
Okay, I see what Pete's starting to type, like a username, and so yeah, the thing in the URL is going to be a username and the UID of the of the save.
Of the snippet. Yeah.
But will these snippets be bundled? Like all the snippets on Workshop 2 Part 2 will be saved as a bundle?
Yes.
Okay.
They're all, for the entire page will only be associated with one snippet model.
Okay.
Yeah. So is everyone clear with what the task involves?
No.
Okay. So, well, we're basically gonna build a database model for code snippets.
Yeah, and we're saving the HTML that somebody's edited as text in the database.
Yes. Something like that. Or we can have a master snippet that has many tiny little snippets depending on the number of editable regions in the workshop, if you know what I mean.
I mean, it is going to be saved as strings in the database, right? So the snippet class has one user and maybe has many chunks Or I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe we wouldn't want a separate model, but yeah.
I
And each
think
of
we'll
those,
want as many chunks, and each chunk will have maybe an associated language like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, Ruby, whatever we're
okay,
gonna
yeah.
have in the future. Yeah. So it's associated to a specific workshop page. So it belongs to a workshop. It belongs to a user.
Yep.
Has many chunks. Each chunk has a certain language, and then a string that's that code snippet, pretty much.
Would there be any benefit in handing this off to a service like GitHub or Pastebin
JS Fiddle.
that
I mean,
hosts code snippets?
it does. JS Fiddle hosts code snippets. I don't know for how long, but they've basically already got it all figured out. On the other hand, I don't know if doing that would completely override our own way of doing things with our IDE and everything.
Hmm.
I mean, we could
But
put
then,
as a task definitely investigate alternatives, but
yeah,
this is something we could hand roll, I feel.
yeah, and even if we're gonna do it that way, we're still gonna have to create a database object that points to all these links.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Yeah.
basically gonna fetch from our database an object that tells us to fetch from somewhere else all these other things. So it might just be easier to hand roll everything.
Okay.
Right. But still, this involves building a JSON API for our application that will talk with Angular, and probably building service objects in Angular to consume this API.
Yeah.
So there's going to be quite a lot of work involved with an unfamiliar framework as well. Okay, so, well, is everyone ready to vote?
How many models are we making with this? We have like the model that aggregates everything, and then we're having
Each chunk, I
a
think.
chunk, or maybe we should replace the word chunk with snippet and come up with something else for the overall, the aggregator. But then, are we going to have a separate model for each language, or are we just going to have that be on the snippet model,
No,
which got
that
the
will be
4
on the snippet
attributes of the?
model.
Okay.
I don't see any benefit having separate models for each language.
Okay.
Okay, so is everyone clear? Two database models involved, a JSON API, Angular services to consume this API. Yeah, those pretty much sums it up. So is everyone ready?
Yep.
Okay. On the count of three. 3, 2, 1, go. Well, we're missing your vote, Marion. But yeah, it's a unanimous tree.
Okay, 3 for code snippet persistence.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So I think let's see, that's plenty of work, but let's do another story. 'Cause this one's also quite important for building up lesson content. So, right, the current iteration of the Codealia IDE only supports a single editable region in the document. What will be nice to have is being able to specify multiple editable regions. In fact, in Thomas's workshop part 2, he assumes multiple editable regions already. So, because in point 5, he's saying find the text you're reading now, and that is outside whatever we have, whatever I've set. We could just make a large editable region, but I feel that we shouldn't expose them to HTML that's unnecessary. Yeah, so I'd much rather have small chunks of the page which are specified as editable rather than have the whole page editable. Yeah, so this also involves doing something about the IDE to allow it to switch between editable regions, either maybe having tabs, as a first iteration, that might be easier. So you have little tab links on the IDE, switch between this point, this portion. Yeah. So, is everyone clear on that? What's involved?
Multiple editable regions, yeah.
Yes.
So how did you do this editable region?
I built up a Angular directive, which basically attaches behavior to HTML tags. So what you right now, if you put more than one of those directives, you are just going to override the old one. So what's involved is somehow building into my code a way to handle multiple snippets and creating something like a way to link to the next switch between active editable regions, pretty much.
And then they'd also have to be able to save them. Is that part of this, or that's part of the other story?
This is not part of the persistent story. It's just being able to switch between the editable regions.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah. Cool. So is everyone clear what's involved in this story? There will obviously be testing involved as well for this thing, because this is a lot of logic being introduced. Cool. So if everyone's ready to vote, on the count of 3, we'll hit enter. So 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, Marion, you specified a 2. Are you willing to defend your position?
Well, it sounded like you knew what you're doing.
Well,
I just,
I know.
yeah, I don't, yeah. I mean, I don't really, I've never looked at this, so
Yeah.
maybe I'm not being that helpful, but
I'm surprised you put it 2. Despite not knowing much about this. Well, are you interested in working with Angular at all?
sure.
Yeah. Well, I think I posted a video. It has a good intro to Angular
Oh, you did?
on the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a YouTube video. Yeah. But it gives a pretty good introduction to Angular. And yeah, you can pair with us to, pick it up quicker if you want.
Okay, and which
Cool.
chat did you post this in Skype?
Codealia.
Codealia Skype, or?
Yep.
So
Codealia
I found
Skype.
that and pasted it into the group chat for you, Marion.
Thanks.
Oh, that's the documentation for directives.
Oh, sorry.
I was talking about the YouTube video I posted about a day or 2 ago.
Okay, end-to-end. Okay, I feel like we will need to go beyond Jasmine for testing this. And I
Why
don't
do you
know.
think that?
Well, this is the sort of thing where I want to wrap an end-to-end test that, when you click on this region, it like does the stuff for that region, but then when I click over to that one, it will switch all the context and go over there, and then I can switch back and forth. That's sort of like... Now, I'm looking at the tutorial. I remember there was 2 testing frameworks used. There was the Jasmine one, but then they also talked about E2E, end-to-end. And I am wondering if we can use that.
I'm not sure. Because I think Jasmine will still be capable of testing this. Well, but I haven't seen E2E, so I'm not sure how suitable that is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we could definitely just go with Jasmine until we can't get any further.
Okay.
I mean, we could technically probably do everything with Jasmine. That's gonna work fine.
Yeah. I think we can. Definitely. Cool. So, anyway, we're unanimously agreed on 3 right now. So I'll update that and move that to the backlog. So I think that is plenty of stories, plenty of work for us to do. A couple of stories have dependencies on student registration, basic login for instructors, and code snippet persistence. There's also a couple of stories related to the IDE. So I prefer we focus on the logins and the IDE for at least the next, the sprint or whatever, if we're working with Scrum. Yeah. Cool. So that was a very productive meeting. You got to vote on a lot of stories. I think, unless Pete, do you have anything else that you want to vote for in the icebox? I think the rest.
No, the rest can wait until this stuff is done.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna move a couple of the bugs into current. The backlog, because bugs should not stay in the icebox. They should be put in the backlog immediately. Cool. Right. Yeah, so it looks like we've got a lot of work for Codealia now. Cool. Well, is there any other issues that people would like to talk about with regard to Codealia?
I'm just wondering if at this stage we can make sure that the IDE is quite loosely coupled from the content, so that perhaps we can put it in its own repo and integrate it as a third-party service almost.
Well, that's an interesting suggestion, but I wouldn't think about that right now. Splitting it off to a separate repo. But yes, I've designed the IDE to be quite decoupled from the lesson contents. So
all we need is these directive tags inside an area that we want to be able to edit.
Yeah, pretty much. So all I'm doing is exposing these directives, and you're free to add it here and there, whichever part of the workshop that you want.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. So yeah. So that's done. Anything else?
The most popular end-to-end test framework for Angular is called Protractor. Might be interesting to read up on that.
Okay. We could definitely try that. All right. So I guess that ends this meeting.
Cool. Do you want to carry on into some pairing?
I think I need a couple of minutes break, but I'll be happy to pair after this. I don't know, what do you guys plan to work on? Unless John and Marion, did you have some local support stuff to
I've actually got to take off
to?
for a couple of hours.
Oh, okay.
Go meet. I have a friend in from out of town. I'm meeting for lunch.
Sounds fun. John?
Yeah.
Raphael was asking to pair with me on refactoring the authentications controller in website 1, but if he's not around, then I'll work on Codealia instead.
Okay. I think he might be around. He just made a pull request with a work in progress to website 1. Had a bit of work on authentications controller already. I think Sampriti was also happy to pair. He said in probably around 10 more minutes or so you'll be around. Yeah, so it sounds like there'll be a website 1 pairing session soon, maybe. Pete, I don't know. Were you planning to pair on anything?
Yeah, I could have for about an hour starting now, or whenever you're ready.
Okay. What do you plan on working on?
Well, on Codealia, perhaps work through some of these bugs.
Bugs? Which bugs are we talking about?
So we've got there's a problem with the blog. New posts
Oh
may not
yes,
be
the blog.
too visible.
That's quite important.
There's some cleaning
Yes.
up to do there.
Yeah. Because if we can clean that up, I can push things to production. Yeah.
I want to clone. I don't know if I have cloned Lulu, but are the installation instructions on the README? Or I guess I can just ask if I get stuck. I haven't really got this up and running yet.
You mean Codealia?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a fairly simple application. We don't have a,
Okay.
nasty system.
Nothing
If you
special.
have website 1 running, then Codealia should run.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We have this, same setup, PG.
Great.
Yeah. Other
Uses
than that,
it's using
2.1.1. Yeah.
2.1.1 at the moment.
hmm
So you might want to create a new gem set.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take off. Thank you.
all right.
Okay, thanks,
I'll
Marion.
look
Thanks,
around
Marion.
later to see if anybody's pairing.
Cool.
All
Yeah.
right, see ya.
See you later. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna take a break for about 15 minutes or half an hour. If you're still around, Pete, we can work on that bug. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, post the
Bye.
hangout when you're back, Brian.
All right. Will do.
Cool.
See ya.
What are you working on, John? Is this a... I'm not used Teammate before.
This is what a little bit of leftovers from last night
Mm-hmm.
of writing tests for the Angular code we have.
Cool. Some Jasmine tests.
Yep.
Let me see if I can get Teammate set up quickly.
Yeah, if you go to teammate.io, it's got instructions for every operating system, and it's pretty straightforward.
Cool. I might have done this. Right.
If you have done it, you'll get a response probably. What's I'm looking for?
The Teammate link from the chat is opening my email client. Stop. No, I get nothing from which Teammate. So I need to brew install Teammate. Mm-hmm.
Never mind, I do have its most recent stuff. I think. What's that stuff? Linear controller spec. Am I looking at the wrong spec?
Bless you.
Thanks.
Okay, got teammate. And if I type SSH and then this.
Yep. Alright, you're in my terminal. Yep. And if you could make it as full screen, it's perfect, yeah.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, where are you going to work?
So I was just looking at some Codealia stuff just now, but Sam Pretty said he would be available to work on the authentication controller shortly. I don't know if you saw on the website one chat. He said 45 minutes to an hour, and that was half an hour ago.
Okay. Are you guys using Slack now? Because I see the application inside the Hangout.
Are we using what?
Slack.
We're trying Slack out, experimenting with it, but the main chat is going on in Skype chats as usual.
Okay.
Did you want an invite to Slack, Raphael?
Sure, please.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Do you need my email?
Yep.
I'm typing it in the chat for the Hangout.
I'll put mine in there too if you wouldn't mind inviting me.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Codealia is like a school project, right? I went to one meeting. Okay. I guess I jumped with that other project maybe later. I'm just trying to divide my time between local support and website one at the moment.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm split right now between jumping into website one right now with you, or waiting a few minutes for Sam Pretty.
Yeah, probably it's a good idea to wait for him because I think he started the refactor in the same controller that I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to discuss some stuff with you guys because I felt like there is a lot of interaction at the moment with my refactor. So yeah, I will wait for him and also when you are available to work on the refactoring too.
Okay, those invitations are sent.
Great, thank you. Good. Okay.
So why are you using Vim as an editor, John?
I feel like that has the highest potential for productivity, even though right now I'm faster with GUI editors.
Cool. So you've got a before each block, describe block that sets a spy on the case editor edit function, so that your tests are aware when that function is called.
Right. Right. There's a variety of options. If you don't tag on the end call through option, it essentially just stubs it out, and you can still test whether or not it's been called, but the rest of the functionality will be blocked. There's other options that you can look up in the documentation, like end call fake.
And the next line, the controller.set editor, is just replicating the functionality that will be on the page normally.
Which test are you talking about?
In the before each step in line 29.
Oh, yeah.
And on line 11, you're setting a variable element using a jQuery selector.
11 of, yeah, actually, I think it's not jQuery we're using. We might be using JQLite here. I could be wrong. By default, Angular uses its own version of jQuery called JQLite.
Yeah.
And it uses $sign as well, but I don't know which one is being applied here. But they basically are identical.
Yeah.
At the simple level.
Of getting an element from the DOM.
Yeah. Preview.html with element, right?
Hi, Somebody.
Hello. So finally the time zones matched up, Rafael.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, well, let's switch to website 1 then. I'm just going to kick off this test real quick.
Yeah, you guys are working on Codealia, right?
Yep. Just got done with a meeting where we voted on a lot of features. But it was never called. Okay, I'll leave that as a failing test and we'll switch over. So, Sam Pretty, maybe you could share with us what maybe we should start a new Hangout for all this. But
Yeah,
I think
well,
we want to hear what you've done so far with the authentications controller.
I haven't really started with the authentications controller. I was thinking of keeping it to the last. There were just a few missing specs for the authentications controller, which I finished up. I guess it's just not committed to my branch, and I guess after those are done, then I can start on working on the refactoring. Then
What was
So
the
what do
thing that you
you?
were refactoring then?
I was working on like improving the test coverage and then the YouTube helper and the YouTube API thing, and then just
Oh,
improving
right.
the test coverage for the whole application.
Now I thought Marcelo was replacing the YouTube module with a gem.
Yeah, he was just spiking it up. Didn't really he was not really thinking of replacing it. He was just trying it
Oh,
out.
okay.
So I've been working. I don't know if you guys saw my new pull request for the refactoring of the create action for the application controller. There is a new pull request there, and also I have another branch, and I've been doing some work on that create action. Maybe we can start from there.
Okay.
I will open a Gmail session in a moment.
Okay. Let's open a new Hangout though so we can record this.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess I'll do that.